What's up, guys? This is John with the Knife Shop and Survival Outpost, and today we're going to be talking about the different zones you might be surviving in. Stay tuned. All right, guys, before we get started, I want to talk first about a term I use when I'm talking about survival, bugging out, bugging in, a lot of weapons, the zones of the survival zones we're going to be talking about, and that term is zombie apocalypse. The reason why I use the term zombie apocalypse is it covers everything that could possibly happen, from natural disasters to civil unrest to food shortages to disease to everything that possibly could happen is covered under that term zombie apocalypse. So when you hear me talking about different tools, different weapons throughout the videos, or different bug out locations and things like that, or what you should do, I will be using the term zombie apocalypse a lot. Do I believe the zombie apocalypse will happen? No, but it covers everything in a nutshell. So when you hear that term, don't think John's thinking there's going to be zombies running everywhere, but fingers crossed. But it is more of a term, general term, to cover everything that could possibly happen. So as we're going through the videos, guys, that's the first thing I want you to know is this term is what I use to cover every possible scenario that could possibly happen. So let's get into the 5 different survival zones. All right, so let's get into our first survival zone. Now I'm going to start from the most populated area and make my way out to where there is nobody. So that's how it's set up. In the first area I'm going to talk about is going to be your city zone. Your city zone is going to be where it's basically your concrete jungle. It is here in Chattanooga area, it's going to be downtown in the area that we're in. So it is where your big businesses are. It's where it is a lot of apartments and hotels and your main attractions. There's not a lot of natural resources. You're going to have a lot more man-made resources. But in a zombie apocalypse situation, you need to understand that those resources can deplenish very fast. You're going to have a lot of people trying to leave, so you need to figure out a different bug out plan in those areas. It's very densely populated. Again, not a lot of natural resources, but a lot of man-made resources. Guys, the next area of survival that I want to talk about is going to be your urban area. Your urban area is going to be a little bit bigger area in miles wise. It's going to be right at the outskirts of the city, going all the way out close to right where your malls and your a lot of your big branded restaurants and big box stores are going to be. Now, you'll have more natural resources in these areas, but there's still a ton of man-made resources. You're going to have a lot of more people that live in this area, so this is going to be where a lot of your apartment complexes are, your smaller subdivisions are, and where a lot of people are traveling around. You have walking distance to some things, but most things you're going to commute to driving to. You're also going to have a lot of gas stations, your banks. This is where your main hub of your area is going to be, on where people commute and gather to meet and things like that. So understand, if there's a survival situation, leaving this area will be fairly hard, but not as hard as the city, because if you have to walk out of the city, you still have to walk through the urban area to get to where your possible home is, where we'll talk about next. All right, guys, the next area we're going to talk about is going to be your suburbs. Now, your suburbs are going to be all of your subdivisions, your big subdivisions, and you're going to have some stores here and there. You'll have gas stations, things on the corner, but it's mainly going to be homes. Now, you have a ton of natural resources here. You'll have probably a third more resources than you would in the urban area or in the city area, but you're still going to have a bunch of natural resources, and you're still going to have a bunch of people. The difference in this area is, though, is you're going to have a lot of people protecting their homes. So if you're crossing through, understand that you need to go friendly or go quiet. So if you're having to pass through those areas, you need to be like, I'm friendly, I'm just trying to get home, or you need to be seriously quiet, because these people are going to be on edge during a zombie apocalypse because they don't know what's happening. So understand that urban or suburb areas are going to be your main subdivisions, your main homes for people. This is the living area of the whole zone. And there's not a ton of like grocery stores in a sense, but there is a lot of homes and resources there. So, but just be careful crossing through those areas. Again, during survival times, you don't know what might happen. Now, let's get into our next zone. All right, guys, so let's talk about our next zone, which is going to be rural. Your rural area is going to be your farmlands. This is leaving the suburbs, and the houses are few and far between. There's not a lot of man-made resources here, so you're not going to have a ton of grocery stores. You're not going to have the malls. You're not going to have all of the man-made things. Their gas station is also probably their grocery store. This is where you have a lot more convenience stores in a sense, where you can go and pick up bread and milk and eggs and a lot of things. And then they will travel a distance to go pick up, a week or two's worth of supplies. It's not a day-to-day thing for them. Now, the homes are going to be fewer and far between, but you are going to have a bunch of natural resources. Your natural resources are almost like you're going to be in the wilderness areas, but there are homes there. Now, these homes will be very well protected, and the people there will be very on edge during a zombie apocalypse. So be very careful crossing through those, and understand, be friendly or be quiet. But the houses will not be close together. You're going to be, you'll have a house, and then it'll either be acres or miles between the houses. So understand that in those zones, that your natural resources are way up here, and your man-made resources are going to be very low. So understand that with fuel and a lot of those things that will keep generators running, keep things day-to-day going, you might have to learn alternate ways of doing things. All right, guys, let's talk about our next and last zone of survival. This is the wilderness area. This is where you're going to have basically no man-made items unless you take them with you. This is where there's going to be more animals than there are people. And this is your wilderness area. Now, my wilderness area in Tennessee is going to be the mountains. This is going to be the woods, everything out where nobody else is. Your area might be the desert. It might be the swamp. It might be, a snowy mountain peak. I don't know. It depends on the area you're in. Take tools with you if you're going to the wilderness to survive. Making tools in the wilderness is really hard. We'll be talking about how to make tools in the wilderness in later videos, but understand what you take with you is what you're going to have to survive with. So if you don't already have a bug out location, a cabin, a tent, something set up in that area, survival is going to be extremely hard, especially whenever you start hitting winter or your peak storm months, because you're not going to have the supplies to survive. So guys, those are the 5 different survival zones. We'll get into a lot more different detail in each zone and talking about what I would carry in those zones for survival. Now, there's always exceptions to the rules. I'm going to say all this before I head out. If you have a Swiss Army knife and you're in a city setting, then you have the best tool for the job at the moment. Okay? If you have like a huge tactical knife that is serrated and not great for the wilderness, but that's what you have, then use it, because it will work. It just might not work the best. So as we get into these videos, guys, I'm going to talk about, again, what will be best in that environment, so you know what you're good with there. But you're also going to need to always remember you're transitioning into different zones and different environments and what you might need to survive in each one. All right, guys, that's it for the video. I will see you on the next one. Guys, get outside and have an adventure. God bless.